but we don't show prep. So, so he had no idea.
I just barely make it in.
I'm sure you can tell, but we don't show.
I mean, let's put the cards down on the table here.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy, ha ha. It's a 6-Rig Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the 6-Rig champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad. The 6-Rig Kane show. The 6-Rig Kane show. The 6 Rings Kane show. You know.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the 6 Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back, baby. Welcome back to the 6 Rings Kane Show, but most importantly, Blue is back. What's up, Blue? How are you, man? First and foremost, how's it going, man? Good to see you back on the show.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back. Very busy months of last months of May and June, but it was productive. Excuse me. I got to University of Miami during the camp season 3 different times. So
you decided to go elsewhere, huh?
Huh?
So you decided to go some other places also, huh?
Yeah, a lot of other ones, but that was and I got a chance to see basically everybody from Florida that Miami committed.
Nice. Okay.
And I went up to USF and saw Armwood and had a long talk there and with a couple of guys. And it's I just, if Miami continues to recruit the way that they have, they just keep climbing the ladder, getting some really good kids. So I get an opportunity to at least lay some eyes on some of the kids and then talk to some of the existing players at the University of Miami, guys that are coming back. Because a lot of those 7-on-7 events, a lot of those guys are referees.
Right. Well, we're gonna get to all of that because I know you got a lot of info to catch up on recruiting wise and some commits that Miami has won out on, some that they've lost out on, and I've got some questions for the panel here for all of us on some recruiting stuff that I think is going around right now for Kings football, just fans in general, and recruiting pundits and whatnot. And I definitely want to get your take. Before we do that, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, You Break Will Fix. Real quick, have you ever run over a pothole so hard your steering wheel shakes? Are you constantly losing air in your tires and you need to keep adding air? Chances are there's an issue with your wheels, and You Break Will Fix is your solution. You Break Will Fix is Miami's premier wheel repair and restoration company. With over 20 years of experience and located in North Miami, You Break Will Fix offers quick repairs for damaged wheels, and in most cases can offer you some free loaner wheels to help you stay on the road while they repair your damaged wheels. And if your wheels are looking weathered and it's time to freshen up your car, don't replace, refinish those wheels. Their in-house wheel refinishing solutions such as powder coating, machining, and polishing will give your car the like-new look it deserves. So contact Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or on all social media outlets such as Twitter and X, Instagram, and all that. It's at You Break Will Fix. That's the letter U, Break Wheel Fix. Mention 5 Reasons Sports and get 5.5% off your next repair. Check them out. It's You Break Will Fix Powder Coating and Wheel Repair. 305-748-0112. Let's get right to it because we got a lot to cover right now. Believe it or not, I know we've only had one recruit, I believe, commit since our last show. But as Blue mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's been going around the state, checking out a lot of 7-on-7s, going to some schools, talking to some coaches, talking to some recruits that have committed, some guys that are playing on the team now that are excited about the upcoming season. And me and Vish were talking about it last night. It's now 54 days and counting, right, Vish? but really, who is counting? Not us, that's for sure, right? 54 days, until August 31st, a showdown between Miami and Notre Dame here at home. So we're really excited about that. Before we get into that, really quick, DJ, are you a gamer? Do you play? So I know, Vish, you're not a big gamer. But College Football 26 comes out in a couple of days, and I know that's gonna be a big hit. I'm gonna put it out there now for any of you fans that listen to us, that watch us. I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry, Vish, I have to announce it. I'm gonna put it together a dynasty league. I've got room for 16 teams, 16 players. DJ, I'll talk to you about it.
Yep.
But in 3 days, I am creating a dynasty league. It'll be called the Six Rings Canes Dynasty League. That way, everybody knows what it is. I'll create the league. Now you can cross play with it's the early release is already out. I know, Pimp Down, but I'm trying to save myself $30 here, dude.
I don't want to give any of my money to Madden either. That's the thing. Like, if Madden wasn't combined with it, I'd get the early release.
Well, right, they have the early access one on its own, but it's $100. And if you get it, if you wait a couple of days, you'll get it for 60 instead or 70.
I'm just gonna save my money. I'm too broke to get the early access.
Come on, man. I'm gonna wait the 30. Save the $30. So, but yes, I am gonna put it down, Pimp. If you want in on it, just make sure you send us a message. I wanted to throw that in there really quick. I'll be putting together a Dynasty League, 16 teams. It's going to be very fair play, 3.5 star rating for teams and under. So we won't be playing with all the big boys, because then it'll kind of not be as competitive as it should be. Anyways, moving right along. College football, Miami Hurricanes football. First things first, Vish, we want to talk about our newest commit to the program, a legacy commit. His brother played linebacker here for the University of Miami. He is ranked a 4-star cornerback out of the state of Florida, committed to Michigan for quite some time. We're talking about Brody Jennings. Brody Jennings, who has been flipped from Michigan, a 4-star defensive back. And, a lot of us talking about how our defensive backs struggled last year, and the past couple of years we haven't had a really good defensive backfield. I think believe it or not, Blue and Vish, I'll start off with you, Vish. I think it's going to be one of our strengths this season, considering all the guys we've been able to bring in the transfer portal, recruiting class as well. This is turning out to be a really strong defensive backfield this year and for a few years to come with the guys that we've got committed. We'll talk about some of the other guys that are committed in the defensive backfield as well. But what do you like about Brody? Am I saying that right? Brody Jennings? Brody Jennings, right? Brad Jennings was his brother, Bradley Jennings. He's Brody Jennings. If you guys remember, number 44 linebacker here for a while, and then he transferred out after 3 or 4 years. But Brody Jennings, a hell of a football player, comes from I want to say kind of legacy, but their father actually played at FSU, if I remember correctly. The kids actually played at Miami. So the kids are kind of legacy football players here at Miami. What are your thoughts, Vish, on Jennings and that flip from Michigan? Who, by the way, before I even get to it, Michigan has a knack for recruiting top tier defensive backs. They know how to recruit them. They know how to analyze them, and they always seem to have a few really good ones over there. What are your thoughts, Ish?
Yeah, I mean, it's another just adding talent to that position. As you said, I think this is, Mario, we talked about this last few shows, actually. It continues to expand range. Jacksonville's, it's in state, but it's not an area where the Canes, dominate. It's more UF country. I'm sure Will Harris, helped here. He was the lead recruiter, and, obviously came over from UF, so he's got more connections in that part of the state. Kind of interesting that Jennings' last official visit was to Michigan right before he decommitted and committed here. So Yeah, he had, like you said, been committed there more than a year. Obviously, a lot has happened at Michigan since then. Given that when he committed, they were the national champions, and since then, they didn't have a great year, and they're in trouble with a lot of NCAA stuff. So, I think there was an opportunity there the Canes take advantage of. In terms of the player himself, really talented. I think he's someone that could probably play on the inside or outside. So I think that's that versatility that Heffernan's looking for. And yeah, no, it's just, again, it's adding talent, it's being opportunistic. And the more, that the Canes go into Jacksonville, go into the Panhandle, go into these traditionally FSU and Florida parts of the state and pull kids, the more they're also weakening those programs, which is, good thing long term for this program. So this is another just big time get. It feels like that's a weekly occurrence in terms of just what big fish did Mario land this week. So this week it was Jennings.
Facts on that. I know we lost Devin Jackson. I know he was a guy that Miami was recruiting hard and ended up committing to Oregon. Was a former Florida guy. We at one point thought we were in the lead with him. Will Harris was his recruiter. Ended up going to Oregon. Look, you can't land them all. But I will say this, just to kind of piggyback what Vish said, going up to the Panhandle or going up to the East Coast up there in the northern Florida, Jacksonville area. And picking up a guy like Brody Jennings. Not only that, but we also picked up with J.J. Sparks from Jacksonville Bulls, right? So you go in there and you get some high-level talent or even some guys that that are pretty good that we can come in and develop here at the next level. I think is huge going to IMG, who obviously is right in the middle of the state over there in Sarasota, Bradenton area. I was actually just there last week myself at the school, and they were about to get the Under Armour top 50 there, Blue, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that in just a second. Before we even get to Blue, because I want to get your take, DJ, on this defensive back class, right? We mentioned it. Guys like Camden Portis, obviously the legacy guy. His father played at the U. Jalen Waters, who's another flip, a guy we flipped from Florida, another 4-star DB. Brody Jennings, as well as Jesus, now I can't see it because it's 247 Sports is driving me crazy.
John Tavis Wyman.
Yep. That's the other kid that we flipped from Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Talk about getting some flips from some high-level SEC programs, but also being able to recruit some guys, like a Portis, like like those other guys, Waters, and so on and so forth, and then the guys that you have here now, the Keontae Scotts and Zachariah Poyser, Jacoby Thomas, and so on. The list goes on and on and on. I think the defensive backs are becoming a strength. What are your thoughts on this Brody Jennings commitment and just the defensive backfield overall right now for the Canes?
The defensive backfield overall right now is pretty solid. When you look at the transfers that came in, and when you look at the 2026 class, just zeroing in on that, you mentioned Portis, Waters, Jennings, and Wyman. I really like Wyman. He's a very versatile player, very fast, very athletic. Jennings is another guy, 6'1", 175 right now, but obviously, he's got room to grow, and he is also really talented. Waters is a fantastic flip because I like the way he plays, very good in coverage. And then Portis, obviously the highest rated of the group of 4 here. Just again, really talented. 6 feet, 165. Very good in coverage, very physical, can play on the ball, and just a very solid group of corners. And when you look at, corner depth was a problem at times last season, but through the transfer portal and through this 2026 class, we've talked about it before. Mario sees maybe a weak spot on this roster. He goes out and addresses it, and he's done that both in the transfer portal and in recruiting, and that is hard to do in today's transfer portal and NIL era.
Facts, man. Mario has done a great job of filling those gaps. Blue, I want to kind of throw it your way. First, to answer this question, not a question, but something that Fresh put out there in the chat, which makes perfect sense. Right now, you got your corners in this class. You've missed on a couple of safeties, but you also got a guy out there. I think right now it's all hands on deck for Blake Stewart, who's a big-time safety. You talk about a top 5 safety in this class, that's Blake Stewart right there. And I know Miami's all over him, hoping to really get him to commit soon. Talk to me a little bit about first what your thoughts were on Brody Jennings. I'm sure you've seen him play 1,000 times. You're probably very familiar with Bradley Jennings, with that family, but also his style of play. If it transitions here as a safety or as a corner, number one, because he is big already, put another 20, 25 pounds on him, you got a 200-pound kid who's, and it's potentially something like that could happen for a kid like that. But then bringing in a guy like a Blake Stewart or something like that, if there's another safety out there that you know of that Miami might be really keeping tabs on also.
Well, the Jennings family I've known ever since Pop played at Miami Carroll City. He passed away this last May, very young age, and kind of shook up the whole family. Saw Brody during spring. I was up there, and certainly outstanding athletes. Played with Hilton Stubbs last year in the same backfield. I saw him matched up against a kid, arguably it's the next Jeremiah Johnson, Bryson Wright, who's a freshman at Mandarin, who took over the OT7 tournament down here in South Florida last weekend. Physical kid. I think he's close to 180 now. I saw him 3 weeks ago, and he looked close to 180. Physical guy that ends up probably down the line having an opportunity to play a safety position because he's physical. But at the same time, he's a really good cover guy. But his physicality kind of lends itself to being able to play against the team's top wide receivers. So, I think he's a big-time kid, big-time get. Michigan really was all in on him. And when I saw him during spring, yeah, definitely. Rest in peace. When I saw him during spring, he who was all decked out in the Michigan gear, which is pretty neat. That Miami, if he was that immersed into that school, but yeah, he's a kid that comes down. He's kind of a plug and play guy right now. I mean, obviously everybody has to learn a lot, but yeah, I think he's a kid that has an opportunity to be extremely special. Is he Jalen Waters? He could be, because I saw Jalen Waters at a 7-on-7 at USF, and a couple of the receivers took him to task, which I like to see, because that's part of what it is to be a football. I don't want to see all highlights, but you could tell a lot. He's not to get off of Brody, but I was really impressed with Jalen as a person and his maturity. And he went up against some, that tournament happened to have Chaminade and Plant and some really, really good South Florida teams as far as good teams. So he always drew a top receiver. I thought it was funny because he was playing St. Petersburg. Gibbs has a 6'11" receiver and a 6'9" receiver and a 6'7" quarterback. And
starting power forwards.
I'm telling you. But he actually handled the 6'10" kid better than he did a 5'10" guy from Tampa Plant. I'm sold on Brody. I think, the very fact that, having watched the entire family play, they're all dogs. They love the game. They play with passion. They're easy learners, and like the father he's more like the father because he's a very physical player, but more skilled. So, yeah, I think they came away with somebody very special. That's the kind of steal that you need, in the late stages of the game, to come up with a player like that who was, I always say that, if you ask a coach sometimes about a kid he lost, they'll always blow him. Oh, he was not that good. But you talk to a Michigan coach about him, and they don't say that. They say that was a vital kid that we lost in our recruiting. So you always like to come away with that.
I've actually heard a lot from, a lot of people in the Michigan program that cover the team and all that are actually speaking really highly of the kid. They haven't knocked him for his flip.
No.
And they kind of understand it, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with his family. A lot of it has to do with the passing of his own man. Him maybe wanting to be closer to home, per se, being closer to the family or whatnot. But I think that it played a pivotal role. I don't think Michigan could have done anything else to keep that kid around. I think at that point, he kind of understood he wanted to be here. He wanted to be closer to home. I think he wanted to play for Miami, maybe, be, kind of like what his brother did as well. And,
sure.
And I think that's what I think it came down to that at the end of the day was him being a little bit closer to home. I think that Michigan did a great job of recruiting him. They didn't negatively recruit him. They didn't do anything wrong. They did everything right. I think they blew it out of the water with him. But at the end of the day, Miami is Miami, home is home. And I think, getting that flip was huge. So shout out to him. Before I go around the horn again, Blue, what are your thoughts on on potentially getting a guy like Blake Stewart at safety? I think that's going to be a huge get if Miami can pull it off.
Yeah, no, I agree. Blake is he's the type of kid that Miami, kind of fits in with where they're going in the secondary, and a kid that I think that has a lot. He's a good sized kid. He has a lot of physicality about him. He's I think he's like close to 6 foot now. He's quick. Another Georgia guy. Another state of Georgia guy that a lot of people, I know that a lot of people felt that he would end up at Clemson along the way. But he comes out of a really good program, Woodward Academy, that has some really good coaches. He's in a group up in that area, guys, that work out together, a group of core kids that, that are going different places, high level schools. And yeah, I like him a lot. They have a good shot, but I'll tell you, Dabo's been, for some reason, Dabo's put the clamps on a lot of people. Ain't letting a lot of people go, but we'll see. He had the Savannah Bananas at Clemson. He led them down the did you see that? Dabo led the Savannah Bananas. They had 72,000 at the stadium for the baseball game, and Dabo led them down the rock.
I didn't see
They were
that.
just at Fenway this weekend.
Actually, yeah, they were just.
I saw they sold out 2 days.
Beat the firefighters. That was funny to watch.
That's amazing how they do. How much money that guy's made.
Maybe you can answer this question. I saw Dabo. And I texted Vish about it. But I actually saw Dabo this past week on Thursday of last week. I saw him down here in Miami. He had just landed at the airport. I won't mention where, but at one of my locations where I was working. Probably not supposed to say much, but yeah, he was here. What the hell is he doing down here? Recruiting?
I don't think so. He probably golf tournament or something that he was involved in.
I saw him and I looked at him straight in the face and we locked eyes and I almost throat punched him. So
yeah.
I didn't do that. I'm just kidding.
Well, he's not so much into the NIL, so
no.
So I don't know what he would have been doing down here.
Well, he's not flying commercial. But anyways,
I was gonna say
904 Hurricane says here, and I don't know, Vish, you might want to get your numbers right, dude. He's saying 55 days away. Are we 55 or are we 54? Is 904 wrong here or what's going on?
Palm.
I think he's I don't know, man. I think he's struggling. I think he's excited and he's getting his days wrong. Because we counted 55 last night. Should be 54 now, right? I think Vish is looking at
It's 55.
It's 55? All right. So we got ahead of ourselves. We got excited with 55 yesterday. We'll go 55 today. But that's fine. Fair enough. Again, who's counting, right? Nobody's counting.
Yeah, you are.
Man. That's funny. Well, there's one thing I did want to go around the horn before we talked about some other news of some of our players that are making now some headlines.
So sorry, before you do that,
Go ahead.
so our conversation last night was actually this morning. Technically, that's why it was 55.
Yeah, it was.
It was just after midnight, so that is today.
True. That's true. You're right.
So when I looked it up, I was like 55 because it was technically the next day. So
this is true. All right. You're right. Okay? So what? Well, I guess we can ask these questions first, right, Vish? First is the FSU wide receiver coming to Miami? FSU fan was talking negative about him. I'm not sure what wide receiver you're talking about, but are you
J-Rod?
What's that?
J-Rod?
Is it
Jason Lopez?
the commit. Okay.
Because
like
he hasn't he's there, but
yeah, he's there, but he said I'm just committed to the program right now. That doesn't mean that I'm closed off from any other schools.
Yeah, you don't say that to FSU fans.
it was
then
the
they're
most
gonna
non-committal commitment ever.
Yeah.
I'm committing there, but don't read too much into it because I'm gonna act exactly like I'm not committed there.
Yeah.
Well, considering the staff could be gone next year, could you blame him? Not the type of thing you say out loud, but can you really blame him?
Kid's a hell of a player, man. He's gonna play. The problem is I don't know if Mario would let him play basketball here. I know he's a really good basketball player, but
not ACC basketball though.
Yeah, I mean,
let's be. I love the kid to death, but let's be serious. Is he? He's a really good basketball player, but he's going to play ACC basketball where those guys play 365. They play every single day, and he's going to miss 180 days to play football. It's nice to say that you're going to go there, but if he went to FIU or something like that, I'd say yeah. But
speaking of Blue,
I'm just, it's honest. I'll be honest. I mean, Vish, I don't have to tell you. You've been up and close to see what ACC basketball at its finest is. It's when I see him in an NC State jersey or a Georgia Tech jersey. Yeah,
he might have been able to play on last year's team, but hopefully we're never that bad.
Miami's already been named as a bubble basketball team for next year.
There are a lot of guys today that weren't ACC caliber that were playing. So
I do have this question for you guys and Blue. I mean, is it all said and done with Calvin Russell? Because I know everybody knows he committed to Syracuse.
I have my opinions on Calvin Russell, so
and I'd like to hear them. This is why
he's a really good athlete, and he's going to do real well at Syracuse, and that should be it. It's Miami's got a lot of other guys that are on the. They can get Nick Lanier next year. That would.
Well, I hear he may reclassify.
Well, I hope he does because I think Nick Lanier's the best. Huh? He got screwed by not being invited to the Under Armour thing over at the IMG. He should have been there. I like Julius Jones, but Nick's right there. Nick does more because Nick is a type of 5-star receiver that could also be a 5-star defensive back. And also, I think right now he's unquestionably, I don't care what class, he's the best kick returner in the country.
Wow. What about Tristan Keys? There's still a shot with Tristan Keys here, right?
I don't know if Miami really has a shot. Well, from some of the things that I've really heard about him, I don't know if Miami really wants the baggage right now. They're trying to, they don't want any tail wagging the dog guys. They want control over everybody, and the guys that they've put in and brought in are all system their guys.
Listen, I'm not complaining about the guys that we brought in with the likes of Ben Spafford and all these kids. I mean, they brought in some absolute dogs, so I'm okay with the class
that kid's a whole different level kid. It's but they want guys that are going to be of character. I mean, and that's why I give Campbell all the credit in the world. There was all these rumors. Campbell, remember, has been the longest recruit that they have in his class. He was the first one to come aboard, and all these people were trying to shake him loose. And I told you last year when I was at the Under Armour game, he won't end up there. He's not, this and that. Kevin Beard, this and this guy and Nickerson and, all these excuses of why he wasn't going to come. And all the guy's done is war stuff. When he was down here with when Darian Coleman was down here, they were buddies and they both wore stuff and they hung out. And you see, so people have to understand that's the type of guy Miami needs. Miami needs a guy that wants to be here from day one, and that will be here. And I think that, you look at guys like Ashari Charles and people like that I had a chance to run into, people like that who want to be Hurricanes. And that's the whole thing. I mean, he's only here because of the money, or no, these kids are here because, listen, there's got to be some loyalty somewhere in between the millions of dollars. There's got to be some loyalty somewhere. And, but I definitely think that, Miami moves on with the receivers. From what I heard, Josiah Trader is looking every bit. And because I have the guy the guy who works, who's his trainer and has been his trainer since 7 years old. We had a talk this morning about him. And he says this kid's on his way to greatness.
Good stuff. Vish, you want to answer Blue's question there? The other Blue, the imposter?
Well, let's not criticize our listener. We did one last week if you didn't catch that, and we're gonna wait until the draft now so we can see, who actually is signing and who's coming to campus, and then
the draft is this weekend coming up. So.
Yeah, and then we're gonna
Sunday
deep dive into the recruiting class then, because we spent a lot of time on the portal and not really much on the recruiting class. So that's coming your way. Obviously got a couple more commits in the last week that we'll be talking about as well on that show. Jazz, we asked for them to strengthen the pitching staff, and they went and did it. So.
We did it, baby. We did it.
Hey, Vish, it's not a very Florida-friendly draft this year.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
But you know what the heck? The best Hurricane that could get drafted is the dude that left and went to UCF. I can't think of his name. He played at UCF this last year. He was at Miami.
Jimenez. Tony Jimenez?
Yes. He's the highest list.
He's in the transfer portal again. Yeah, he had a great year. He had a great season.
He's not draftable, right?
Yeah, he is.
I thought he's only 2 years out.
I think it's third year. But I saw his name on the draft thing.
Interesting. I think Miami has a couple of guys that'll get drafted, but anyways, question for the just for everybody here. Now that we're kind of getting into. Look, Miami's got about 19, 20 recruits. A lot of other teams in the country, I know we mentioned this last week, have already 25, 26, 30 recruits. I think Miami's in a good spot to still fill in, with another 8 to 10 guys. And I think they're going to go after. They're going to be very picky. They're going to be very selective with the guys that they go after to fill out this class. And I think you're going to see some really interesting names. And so I'm not too worried right now. But a lot of people are worried with the lack of trenches from the defensive side, right? We've heard of it. Look, last week we had Anthony Kennedy commit, who's a big-time defensive tackle. I think he's going to come in and in a couple of years, be a very productive player for this team. But if you look at the list, there's a lot of people that thought Bryce Perry, right? I thought he was coming here. James Johnson, who's a local. They say he's a local kid. He's really not a local kid. He hasn't even played a down in Miami.
He hasn't even gone to a class here yet.
Exactly. He's not even from here. So, but let's just chalk him up as a kid from Northwestern, right? James Johnson. You got some other kids, Nolan Wilson. The list goes on and on and on. There's been a lot of big-time defensive tackles that Miami has, quote-unquote, for all the fans out there, whiffed on recently. Are you surprised? I'll start out with you, Vish. Are you surprised by the lack of defensive tackles, and big-time inside guys in this recruiting class so far? Are you worried? Do you think Miami eventually will get their own guys, or are you kind of upset at the fact that they've whiffed on a couple of the guys lately?
Not surprised, not upset, not worried. I think at this point, the way the game is played is this is one talent acquisition opportunity. The portal's another. So you don't. I think the thing that you'll see, this is across all major programs. So excluding like FSU and stuff, where they go to Canada to get skill position players, but you don't need to reach. So they missed. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that, right? They're the guys you mentioned. They went for, didn't get them. You don't need those Plan B guys anymore because you just go in the portal. So, and I think that's what's changed about the recruiting game. You're not looking at it as, okay, we missed our top candidates. Now we're gonna go to the secondary and tertiary candidates. You don't need to do that. So you can pick guys up in the portal. So, So I think they'll continue to anyone that's committing, and also kids commit a lot earlier now, which means not everyone's going to go full Jason Lopez and basically tell you that's a fake commitment, but you don't give up on them until they sign. So
facts.
So I'm not worried about it at all. If this ends up being the defensive tackle class, it's obviously light, which means more work in the portal in the future at that position. Hey,
shout out to Martin, our friend.
Yeah, our guy, Botswana.
I love that. I love that. Starting to wake up at 3 a.m. again. Get ready, baby. It's on, man. Football's going to be in full swing here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to start doing position breakdowns. We're going to start doing records. We're going to start doing everything soon. So it can't happen fast enough. I think Miami will eventually get the Samoan DT from USC. I know defensive tackle just decommitted from Oregon today, a 2026 kid, a Samoan guy. Blue, I'll kind of pass that same question to you. Are you concerned? Do you know there's some guys out there that Miami's still looking at? Because I agree with Vish. I think you don't reach. But I think what they might do is might get a couple of guys that, will be head scratchers to you and I maybe, but to them, their talent evaluation, they said, okay, this guy has projectability, his opportunity to come in. Maybe he sits a year. Maybe he gains some weight. He works on his technique. We don't have to worry about him transferring. We can build him up and develop him a little bit. This might be a good guy. Or they might just say, screw it. We're going to cut our losses. If someone jumps in or if someone opens up and is ready to go, we'll go after him again. But if not, we'll just keep going and keep getting the best guys that we possibly can. Blue, what mind frame, what party are you in? Are you concerned, or are you, they still got a plan in place?
I think they have a plan in place. I think I agree with what you just said, Jazz. As far as maybe bringing in a couple of kids that are projects here and there, I mean, they may have, like you said, there's a couple of things. Mario lets a lot of things out, but then he doesn't let a lot of things out. He lets some things out that he wants Gio and other people to get out there, believe me. But then he has stuff that he doesn't. And, because I talk to a few people down there a lot, and I have a new plug down there. I'll tell you who it is off the air. The guy's been just awesome with me. So I pulled up residency over there, coming out there so much. The guy, and they even fed me too. So watch out.
Oh, okay.
Blue, they should feed you every single time, all right? Let's not get it twisted. Right?
Yeah, I know. What is this, first meal they fed you? Come on now. They need to treat you better.
I usually don't, but I mean, no, it was nice to finally hear things from people that I don't normally hear things from. Because some things always don't match up. Right. Everybody wants to be the first guy to come rushing to you and tell you something that particularly isn't true.
All right, I got one for you, DJ, before we move on here. And I'll go around the clock on this too, around the horn here. I got one for you. What is the next position to commit for the University of Miami? Not a player, just give me a position. Ooh. And don't take tight end. You can't take tight end.
No. Next position. I'm gonna say that's a tough one. I want to say wide receiver, but I almost want to corner. I think will be not like a huge addition at corner, but another depth piece to add to the room itself. I don't think it's going to be anything major, but I do think additional depth at the position will be important.
It's funny you just said that because Anthony just wrote Kennan.
Yeah.
He's committed to FSU, but he's a
Booker. Yeah.
You like him, Blue? You think
Like him a lot? Yeah, I got a chance to see him for the first time. They came, I think I told you, but they came down there during spring. They were supposed to play New Orleans and all these teams like that, but they drove all the way down and they only got to play a half because there was lightning. But no, he's a dude. Yeah, he's a dude.
He's someone that Miami still has a shot with, even though he's committed to FSU.
Yeah, FSU's got, like I said, FSU's done extremely well, and and you could probably credit Brandon Harris, for coming up, with J-Rock and a couple of those other late kids. But remember, Tadarius Hughes, who's a name that I keep hearing a lot about, actually went there before all these, Brandon Harris or any of those guys. I think people still forget that they have Pat Surtain's there, and he's done a pretty good job. So, if anything, I think that was Pat's guy. Kennan was Pat's guy.
Gotcha.
But we'll see. But I missed DJ's what he said that the position.
The corner, right? You said a corner, development corner, maybe.
Okay.
What about you,
Miami?
What did you say, Blue?
I think Miami got blindsided with Noah Sedan. Remember, I told you that was the kicker that they were banking on for next year out of Chaminade. He committed to FIU.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And I thought he was one of the best ones in the state coming out.
It's all right though. We got the Ginger Patrol baby coming out. He's gonna kick some bombs for us. All right, with Bert Auburn or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Vish, who do you think? What do you think is the next position that commits to Miami?
I think it'll be safety. I think it's been light in this class, and so Mario's very good at building, stacking positions and kind of not just chasing recruiting rankings, but building depth on the roster. And so I think safety will drop next.
I think that Miami finishes off the offensive line class and gets a big name there. I don't know if it's a Kolajay or if it's another guy that pops up late. I know Kolajay was heavy leaning towards Miami at one point, and then now he's not, and I don't know how he's going to go, and maybe he committed somewhere already. I have no idea, but I know Kolajay is a big name out there, Brett Kolajay, and there's a couple of other guys also. So, I wish we get Felix Ojo. Blue, what are your thoughts? Who do you think is the next guy that's going to commit to Miami?
I think they ended up with a defensive lineman. I think they come up with one of these D linemen, because I was saying, you guys, you made a good point earlier on when you were talking about you never know who Mario and those guys covet. I don't know if it'll be an offensive lineman because Mirabel's in Japan right now, and he is. So you never know.
He just posted the U is in Kyoto, and with the U.
He did. Well, he did that last year when he went to Paris.
Imagine that guy with a sumo suit on.
Sumo wrestling. Those guys are big. They can move people.
No, yeah, that's what he's going at.
He's recruiting, man. Under the radar.
Nothing's gonna get past that guy. That's why don't coaches do that more often? Why don't they go to Japan and go get some of these big sumo wrestler guys? No one's gonna imagine that wall that you put together there at the offensive line with those Japanese guys.
It's funny because tonight I had the head coach on from Harvard, and he's Andrew Orrick, who I knew because he used to coach with Shiano back in the day. So he said, I was looking through his roster, and all of a sudden I see this kid from Beijing, China. He's 6'5", 240 pounds. He said he was sitting in his office, and this kid walks in, and he's a basketball player. What? And he goes, I like your American football. Could I play? He said the kid's a project, but you never know. He said he's got great feet, and he's 6'5".
6'5", 240. I mean, put another 50 pounds on that guy. He's your starting center. Nobody's gonna, get around that guy there. That's funny, man. That's funny. All right. Kind of second portion of the show, Vish. I want to talk a little bit about Zach Poyser, and and what they're saying about him for some awards. I know that there's been a lot of talk about the safety position for Miami recently with the addition of Zachariah Poyser and some of the other guys that they've gotten, Jacoby Thomas and Keontae Scott and the like, and some other guys there. But word is Poyser is the guy to really watch out for.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier starting position previews, so I figure we start with safety, given that Poyser was just highlighted nationally. So he was ESPN flagged him as their number 21 under the radar player, which, dubious, and they even call that out in the write-up that he's under the radar, given that he was a freshman All-American. But I would say maybe not under the radar as much as going to make a huge impact that no one's really discussing. Yeah, no, he's outstanding. I am curious to see what they do with the other safety position. I know we think it's going to be Thomas since they went and got him out of the port from Tennessee, but he wasn't a full-time starter there. So I do think there'll be more competition than people are realizing, and potentially Markeith getting some snaps there as well. So yeah, I think that's an interesting battle to watch in the fall, because I think Poyser's definitely starting, and then the other ones kind of could be the combination of players. So it's an interesting position there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I love what we got at safety. I know losing Zaquan was tough. By the way, where did he commit to? Where did he end up going? Anybody know?
Which one?
Zaquan Patterson. Did he end up going anywhere? Has he
I'm
committed?
going to look that up right now unless Fish is
I thought he
He's probably already done it.
SMU. Maybe I'm wrong.
SMU. Wow, Jesus. Anyways, my point is, as you mentioned, Vish, I think that Jacoby Thomas has a great chance of taking that position. But the guy that I'd watch out for the most is Amari Wallace. I think that kid is an absolute beast of a ball. He's a ball hawk. Goes after the ball. He goes up and gets it. He's healthy, which I know health was a concern of his. He missed a lot of his senior season. But you saw him in spring football, had a couple at least one interception that I remember watching. But he's a physical kid. He's a ball hawk. He goes out. He's going to hit you hard. He's going to pick the ball off, which is something you need. You need to create turnovers from that safety position, and you need to make sure that that any wide receiver that's going up the middle or going for a deep route understands that if you are going to go out there, you have to remember that guy's out there. He's going to lay you out, and I think that Amari Wallace likes to remind people of that. But I think he also likes to go up and get the ball. So I'm really excited about Amari Wallace. I think that Oklahoma State. Thank you, DJ. Thank you. Weird landing spot for him, if you ask me, but okay, good for him. Yeah, I think
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, yeah.
Can I answer Anthony Manzano's question real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead. Which one?
Yeah. The kid that you're talking about his name is Keegan Croucher. He's from Connecticut, Cheshire Academy, and he's really good. A lot of the kids, lot of people are on him. Indiana's huge on him. He throws. He's got some wheels. He's a baseball kid. I could see why somebody like Dawson would be on him, because that's the type of guy he looks at. So he
plays up at that school in Connecticut, doesn't he, Blue?
Cheshire Academy.
Yep.
Cheshire.
Yep. That's Connecticut. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cheshire Academy can train out quarterbacks like nobody's business. So Croucher's a really good player.
Yeah, he's not bad at all.
Yeah, Michigan was on him. I know that. And
Indiana,
he's a guy to watch. Yeah.
Cool.
But I'm sorry. I just noticed that. And
no problem, man. You're good. I mean, I don't care. The more information, the better, But no, going back to the safeties, like the guy for me to watch out for is definitely Amari Wallace, and I think we have some.
Love that kid.
Some other guys there that could definitely play. Blue, what are your thoughts on that safety position?
Yeah, Jazz.
Closer than the other guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're 100% on Amari. Remember last year at this time, they never thought he'd play again. And that son of a gun was in spring kicking people's ass. Remember when we were at the spring game, and I said, I think I told Vish, I said that was Amari Wallace who picked that ball off.
Yep.
He made that one-handed. I'll tell you what, that's amazing how somebody could come back. Because I remember when they all said, remember the lawsuits, and because he's not supposed to be doing that during the summer, and that kid, he had a compound freaking fracture, and he came back from that. And I watched because I went to a couple of Central games last year, and I kept seeing him on crutches, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, he wasn't on them. And I'm saying, oh my. So I think, yeah, I agree. That kid's going to start. He's going to start because he's just too valuable. He's a playmaker. Listen, Miami coveted him so much last year when they were recruiting him because people got an opportunity to watch him play because he's long and he's got some speed and he's got great cover skills and he'll tattoo you a little bit too. No, I agree with you. That's a kid that I would watch out for too.
What about you, DG?
Zachariah Poiserface. Yeah, that. Well, remember when he came from Jacksonville State, everybody said if you look at his film, that kid was a dog last year. And you go back and look at Poiser, man, I couldn't agree with you more. Was it you, Jazz, that said that'll be the most improved part of Miami's 100%. Look at all Lucas and all these guys they got.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it's going to be impressive back there.
Lucas ever gets over this lawsuit stuff. Jesus.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right. What are your thoughts, DJ?
He's not involved. The school was sued. He does not.
No, I know.
He's clean. He's clean.
I think it'll be all right. I think it's all.
Join the chat.
Darren Heidner, a good friend of the program. He's kicking ass over there, trying to help these kids. DJ, what are your thoughts on the safety position?
I really like, where the safety position, stands. I mean, I like Thomas, I like, Dylan Day. I'm kind of not sold on Markeith Williams, but then again, nobody looked good on the defense last year. But I think that's going to change. And, I'm really interested to see how a guy like Markeith Williams does under Hefterman and, how the safety position kind of evolves. And on Poiser, I mean, I think, he's no sleeper whatsoever. He's a damn good football player. And, I was going to say something about ESPN, but I'll refrain. But I'll just say that they don't cover college football as best they should. And the fact that Poiser made this list is kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. He's far from a sleeper. He's a good football player. So I'm excited to see what he does this year.
I think he's going to put some people to sleep potentially. He might. I think he's that good. Yeah, I think he's a good player.
You can't close your the book on Williams, DJ. He's the only one who knows where they hide the Hershey syrup at night. So yeah, pretty ice cream. He's been there so long.
I know. I don't want to close the book on him. I hate closing the book on a kid, but man, it feels like he's been there since we started the show.
Yeah.
That was 5 years ago.
Change the locks on a few of the. Boy, I'll tell you what though, I don't know if you've seen, but they're the new living facilities over there are coming along pretty nice.
I actually did, and they look pretty good.
Beautiful. It's right there overlooking because they had to move everything to the old intramural fields over there, and it's right there. It's where that little cafeteria used to be on the bottom there.
Yeah, that new facility is looking really nice. Vish, what do we got? That's it, right? We're good for tonight.
Well,
I mean,
I'm hoping Mr. Bluestein has something for us here.
I do have something that just
nice.
It's been a while, and I haven't been, to be honest, I haven't been able to go through all my stuff as much, but I'll take you back to the 2002 season, which was a pretty nice year after that, and our friend Mr. Ken Dorsey, wherever he is, where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
There it is.
Ken Dorsey. And then our offensive line buddy, or there's our who's that? That's Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
And then the next page on it is our guy Brett Romberg.
There he is.
Still a very And on the cover of this Eastern Athlons was Avon Colborn. Remember him, the running back at West Virginia?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Those are names, yeah.
23 years ago, guys. It doesn't.
Well, I didn't feel dull enough, Blue. So thanks for.
Huh?
So I didn't feel dull enough. So thanks for making me feel even over 23 years.
That's all. 23 years. Yeah, I'm gonna be over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, I'll have some time to go through some boxes. I told you I had I don't know if it was the last time I was on, but one of the times, I think it was when Jazz wasn't here. It was just DJ and Vish and I that I unfurled that Peach Bowl thing.
Yeah, that was cool.
Let me tell you something, man. I've got more offers on that son of a gun.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Can't find those things. I looked it up on eBay and someone wanted $50 for it.
Whoa. All right. I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
there's
you should
always
open a
something.
museum. You should open up a museum and just.
No, I don't. I need to start getting rid of it. I still got my my Shaq O'Neal Pepsi bottles that came out.
That's awesome.
The 6-pack of Shaq. Oh man, let me tell you something. That's the one thing. And my wife always, because when you have hurricanes and stuff, you got to take things off the wall. So I had all my Coke bottles up, and I have, oh my God, for like when the Marlins and the Rockies first came in, I got the Marlins and the Rockies inaugural Coca-Cola bottles.
Wow.
I got more stuff, man. I'll tell you what. I'm looking over here, and I got those are my Tampa Bay. I'm not even a fan of a lot of these places. But since the Rams don't win all that much, I don't get a chance to get a lot of stuff.
No, they're doing all right.
Yeah, I will tell you this, though, DJ. I saw some lunatic today that predicted New England 12-5.
Who was that?
Some guy.
I don't know. Our sportscasters up here are horrible, so I don't. So
if it comes down to a field goal, they're going to win every game. Borregala's face.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot. I think Borregales could honestly win the starting job outright.
Oh, he's gonna win that.
Yeah. No, I
definitely confident think he already got married.
Yeah, true. I think he's gonna. I predict he's gonna be, if not the starter coming out of camp, then the starter very soon.
Well, let me tell you something. They did well with the offensive tackle from LSU's a beast.
They did.
Yeah, and May's got some help now. No, they're gonna be fine.
This is going to be a fun AFC East. A lot of fun Dolphins, Patriots.
Dolphins are going to be 7-10. They're not good. When you're trading for a guy who was retired, you're in trouble.
I agree.
Giving up a guy like Jonnu Smith, please.
Yeah, I didn't understand that move at all. But
I don't know. Who knows? I do know that in closing, that the Rams were pretty neat. They took them all to Hawaii for their mini camp thing.
Oh yeah, I heard
that was pretty neat. They fixed up the field and they gave them everything. Even when you hear veterans guys who've been around for 10, 12 years say, oh, this was the best. We had short ribs and we I like that. But that's it.
All right. Well, hey,
Miami Pride.
Make sure you follow us on X at 6 Rings Canes, on Apple or Spotify, wherever it is that you get all your content for podcasts. Make sure you check us out there. Also subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Check us out there. 5 Reasons Canes. What else we got? We got next week. We got another show, a beautiful show next week. With hopefully Larry Bluestein wants to join us again. We'll see what happens. But we also got baseball next week, which is going to be nice. A little.
Oh yeah, we got the All-Star home run hitting.
Yeah, home run derby next week.
Oh really?
Yeah. Go Cal Raleigh. There's a dude that came out of nowhere.
That kid can stroke it. Yeah, he's a big time. He's a big time player. Yeah, and we got. We've probably got some basketball coming up soon.
Yeah, another big commit landed this weekend. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Mr. Maddox, right?
Yep. He's bringing in some kids. We'll see.
Have you met Jay Lucas yet?
I have not. I did see him throw the first pitch out of a baseball game.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have some more info for you guys. But yeah, make sure you check it out, and we look forward to talking to you all next week.
Yep.
It looks like he needs to go back to sleep. He looks like he needs to sleep for like 3 days.
I'm jet lagged like crazy. So.
Where'd you go?
I went through. I was in India for like 3 weeks.
Oh, you were?
Yeah,
I did multiple shows from there, Blue.
from India.
He did. He handled it like a trooper. He was awesome.
Good for you.
Back
Like
in the
6
proper time
a.m.
zone now, so just adjust.
Good looking Indian women, I can tell you that.
There's a billion people over there. Some of them got to look at. So.
Someone's got to look half decent, right? Yeah, for sure. I get it. You know. Anyways, this show, the longer we stay on, the it's just gonna go downhill. So we'll see.
Some of our best stuff. What are you talking about?
This is the best part of the show. We'll see you guys next week. Adios.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show. You know.